One of my favorite quotes of all time comes from Eric Thomas, and he says, "It's about perfecting the you, not just doing more, not just being better, but finding your best." And that is something I've talked about in multiple videos and discussed almost ad nauseum with friends. Just the idea that trying to get to your absolute best is something that you owe to yourself. Anytime you have a passion for something, anytime that you care about something enough to want to improve at it, you owe it to yourself to become the best version of being able to do whatever that thing is. In my case, it happens to be powerlifting. It happens to be this seemingly random grouping of 3 lifts that you just improve on. And when you're trying to get better at that, when you're approaching every single day with the mindset and the thought process of how can I improve that today, it really does become an all-encompassing thing. In this particular session, it's coming off of a day where I wasn't feeling great. I was feeling pretty beat up, more from some poor nutritional choices than anything else. I'm pretty gluten sensitive, not celiac or gluten intolerant or gonna tell you guys that gluten's horrible and will kill you at MK. But what I will say is that when I have a lot of it, I get really sore and my joints get achy. And so I had gotten pretty glutened out the last couple of days, and just my diet wasn't as clean as it usually is, and I felt that getting ready for this session. I felt kind of achy. I felt like my joints weren't really moving as smooth. But I was able to get to the session and just said, you know, I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to stick to my plan, and things ended up working all right. You saw in that top set, I actually misgrooved the second rep with 710, but it's still, I was able to muscle it out. It wasn't my best ever deadlift. It wasn't, it was pretty close to a PR. 715 for a triple in my last training block was the most weight I've ever moved more than one time. So 710 is right behind that, especially with how well it moved. And then I dropped back down and did my conventional work. The plan this week was to hit a 645 double. I was not particularly thrilled with how I felt like the reps were going, but when I watched the video and I saw the side angle and everything, even though they're about as ugly as they usually are, the weight moved pretty well, and I felt like I had some more in the tank. So instead of just leaving it at that one top set, I figured that since this is technically my heavy week to start, I would just do one more and call this my the rest of the deadlift volume for this workout. And so 645, and I ended up hitting a triple. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I was still pretty grossed out by my own pulling technique on those, but ultimately, that was a 5-pound PR right there. The most I've ever deadlifted conventional was a 655, and the most I've ever hit for a multiple set, I think I did a 640 for a triple back in the rec center, where I always joke that the weights aren't real. Afterwards, I got a chance to see how my tricep focus has improved. Literally, with the last week and a half of putting a lot of work into my triceps, my close grip felt like it blew up. This is actually way closer than I had been going in close gripping of the past. My hands were right on the part where of the bar where the knurling touches the smooth, maybe a centimeter or two away from that, and I was a little nervous initially. I thought that I was going to have a hard time and have to touch and go my 4 triples at 300 pounds. But I was able to pause them, and instead of just hitting them normally, I was able to do everything on a 60-second rest. So what you're seeing right there is me start and stopping the timer. So I worked up with 60-second rest all the way, 315 for a single, 335, 355 for a pause single, which I'm pretty sure is a close grip PR for me, and then down and did my planned volume work of 4 triples with 60-second rest. I was done benching in less than 10 minutes. And you'll notice that I do have my armband on that had my tunes going, because my wonderful girlfriend Jessie actually came over and started cooking food, and she was a little earlier than I was expecting, and so I tried to move along through the workout, and the music helped me do that. Afterwards, I still was able to get my 4 sets of pull-ups in. I worked up and I had a 14 rep on this set and then 3 sets of 10. I'm not particularly pleased with my range of motion on these. I think I'm getting more in my head trying to get to a certain number on the first set, and I should really just focus a little more. I'd rather do 5 really, really solid pull-ups than 14, 15, or even 20 ones that weren't as solid, and then some more dips. I was really impressed. Like I said, those close grips felt so much improved, and it has to be due to the extra work that I've been putting into my triceps and my chest. And so doing this kind of stuff is I'm planning on it being beneficial, but it's actually visually beneficial. I can see it in my lifts within just a week or two. And I think that's something that happens when you start to add some variation after you've been super specifics for so long. It gives you a little bit of training variety. I have some different kinds of PRs to chase and some different kind of training motivations, but I'm still pursuing becoming my best at every single one of those things, as long as it adds to the final destination of becoming better as a competitive powerlifter with those 3 lifts. I've got 19 and a half weeks left of training, and I'm really excited for how it's going. This was a great intro week, or at least the first 2 sessions. There's still 2 sessions left, but these were the main ones. Everything else is just kind of hitting my volume goals and kind of, covering bases. But there's the workout write-up. You can see it. Like I said in the last video, there will be a video coming out shortly of kind of what the programming plan is, but it's pretty similar to what I did in the last training block, except I'm going to be making the changes and adjustments to improve on the things that I felt like could be improved from the last meet. So that's the really important thing. Whenever you do something, even if you're happy with your performance, it's not an unhealthy thing to look at it with a positive but critical eye and decide where you can improve on different aspects of it. I think that's important. And again, if you are passionate about something, you care about it, you owe it to yourself to improve to the best of your ability, learn as much as you can, and constantly strive to be more perfect at that thing. Even if you never reach it, as long as that's the direction you're taking, you will see some improvement and it'll make you better for it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great night. Bye.